And take notice too of the cloud behind the sun. This image of the sun was either taken by a Nikon P900 camera or a Nikon P1500, and it has 83 times more zoom than a telescope. These cameras are more powerful than telescopes. So take notice, this is simple things that we just don't take into consideration when we watch the sun. Take notice that there are clouds behind the sun. Can you see the clouds behind the sun, guys? Can you see that? The clouds moving behind the sun? That, if the sun was 93 million miles away in space, we would not be able to see clouds behind the sun. And we're so brainwashed to believe in everything that NASA tells us about reality that we don't take these simple things into consideration. We should not be able to see moving clouds behind the sun. If it was in space, that would be impossible. I'm going to show you guys planes flying through the sun. I don't know if this is a governmental black ops plane or something, but you can clearly see that that's what's going on. So I want you guys to pay attention to what's going on at the very top. You see where I'm pointing right here? There's going to be a flying object that's going to come through. Now look at that thing coming in right there at the top. You see it? It goes inside the sun. And after a while, it's going to come out on the other side of the sun. You'll see it coming out in a moment. Right there. And it comes out on the other side, right there, and leaves a trail behind it as it comes out. What is that? Now, in this clip here, taken from an airplane, you can clearly see a local hotspot in the clouds that even looks like it could be the sun. If the sun was 93 million miles away, you would not be able to see this from a plane.
Pay attention to the sun rays here. This alone proves our local sun, and so do these shadows.
The sun does a lot of anomalous things. We have footage, as you can see here, of the sun flashing. We have footage of the sun disappearing right before sunset.
So it just disappears. Now my friends are down at the beach. They said the sun set 10 minutes earlier. I'm filming this from high altitude with a 4K camera on a super clear day, and then I'm zooming in on it, and it just disappears, and it's a perfectly clear day.
You can actually repeat the same experiment using a glass dome and a focal point of light, and you can actually make the light disappear just like you saw the sun disappear. The sun and the moon both have been seen splitting in two, and two suns and two moons have been seen all over the world.
Oh, I got this on video. Look, there is something behind the moon. Or is that a light? What is that light? Look at this, Larry. Oh my God, dude. Something's going on here. Look at this video. Oh, and it's moving away. Larry, look, I'm videoing it right now. Something's going further away from the light. What is that? Oh no, it's separating. What is that?
I see many people in the Christic community putting up and posting NASA's fake CGI sun emitting coronal mass ejections. They're telling us that it's emitting solar flares every time there's some kind of activation with the black sun. When the black sun emits its etheric energy from underneath the Earth, and it shows on our dome as the aurora borealis, Then NASA will come out with some solar flare crap that is not real. And then everybody starts posting it online. It's all fictitious. It's not real, guys. This is a psyop. It's not real. That is not the real sun. That is a CGI sun. This is what the real sun looks like with the P900 camera. This right here is NASA's CGI. Now, this is a 10-year time lapse of the so-called sun in space from NASA. Does this look like the real sun to you? This is what they're telling us is the real sun. That is a CGI sun, and everyone thinks it's real. This is what the real sun looks like through a P900 camera. Do these two look the same to you?
No one promoting this bull stands for truth. You can keep believing in your fantasy gas ball 93 million miles away.
You can keep believing in your fantasy gas ball.
While we keep experimenting to try and figure out what the sun actually is.
So when you post NASA's fake CGI sun emitting coronal mass ejections, you're actually posting something that's fictitious. It's not real. That is a psyop. You are given testimony against yourself that you're currently under NASA's Globe Earth Mass Mind Control program that has been happening since NASA was founded in 1958 through televisions, cartoons for kids, movies, novels, everything, reinforcing it through songs, everything, your entire life. This is part of the Globe Earth Mass Mind Control program.
And today I was talking with a friend who years ago was on the fence about our realm and the truth about it. And today we were talking about the sun and the triangulation of its rays through clouds, and how if the sun was hundreds of millions of miles away, the light passing through the clouds would be direct and not come down in a pyramid shape, allowing us to triangulate back to the source, which appears to be 12 to 50 miles at most. And it was very refreshing to hear his take on things and the nature of our realm. Really, what are they really doing with this CERN machine? Now, of course, I know what they say, but I'm simply asking a bigger question. And what about our sun? What is our sun doing? So many anomalies with our sun. Several times a week, I see a half moon within 20 degrees of the sun. And one of my favorites is the anomaly that we can see here. And this video was put out by One Conscious, and a lot of different channels have touched on this. And let me just cut right to it. What we see in between what is supposedly Russia and the United States is this Bering Strait, as we were taught in school. And what we're not taught in school is that there are two islands, the Diomedes. And this is also the international dateline. And I'm sure you've all seen the international dateline. Why, whatever the shape of the realm, does this dateline just get all crazy and zigzaggy at this point? And you can faintly see it under here. That is the first anomaly. The next anomaly people realized is these two islands, which are only about 10 or 20 miles apart, have about a 4-hour difference when it comes to their sunrise. Now, these islands are right next to each other. Again, we have the international crazy dateline zigzagging its way through here. For what reason, we would be told, I don't care. But then we have this difference. One island, 6:47 a.m. the sun rises, and the other, 9:42. Where did the sun go? And for years there have been talks about chartering explorations to the pole. I've talked about wanting to continue north up through Greenland and seeing if we hit the 4 continents, home of Mount Meru. But here's something not too far away. Not far off the coast of Alaska. Certainly out of the way, but for the sake of research, not far. And here it varies. One Conscious and the APM research team tracked the sunrise for both of these islands, and you can see it varies from 4 to 3 hours. And we know that the Google Earth is a fabrication, and so is this type of projection, and so is this international dateline. Some crazy line used to justify a lie. And where is the sun going for these 3 hours? Is there more land in between here? Are there two suns? Do one of the suns go off to the north and another one comes down 3 hours later? I'm not sure. The only fact is this, that there is a 3-hour difference, give or take, for two islands 10 to 20 miles apart. And this just happens to be where the international dateline cuts through.
Now we're going to talk about our sun, moon, and stars, and the fact that they're in the firmament. So our sun is not 93 million miles away. It is in the firmament, and it is about 3,100 miles away, to be exact.
We're told that the sun is a massive ball of burning gas 93 million miles away. But if that were true, then all the light that arrives here would be parallel because it's so far away. And it has to be parallel because one of the most often cited supposed globe proofs is Eratosthenes' experiment between Alexandria and Syene, by which he calculated the size of the Earth. For that calculation to be accurate, the light must come down parallel. The only problem is that that's not what we see. If you go out on a sunny day with broken cloud, what you'll see is that light comes down at angles, diverging angles. And that means that we can follow those light rays back to the source and triangulate the sun's height above the Earth, proving that the sun isn't millions of miles away. But we can also perform physical experiments that prove that these crepuscular rays, as they're called, can only be recreated with a light source that is small and close. To put that in perspective, imagine a table 2 meters wide in a completely dark room, and you're holding a small but very bright light bulb, 3.4 millimeters across, and you were holding it about 31 centimeters above the table. What you'd see is a circular pool of light directly on the table, beneath the light bulb. But on the other side of the table, it would be in darkness. Now, it seems to our mind that if you were on the other side of the table, you would see the light because it's, above the table. But that's not true, because on that part of the table, it's in darkness, meaning that the light isn't physically reaching that part of the tabletop.
Your senses are correct.
We're also told that the sun sets because as the Earth rotates us away from the sun, it's actually obscured by the physical curvature of the Earth. That's not what we see.
What we see is a local sun that is taking its local light with it. What happened to the horizon glowing across half of the world?
It would appear to sink down in your field of view. That's perspective. The further away you get from it, the lower it will appear. It doesn't physically change its height, it just appears that way to your eyes, until eventually it will disappear behind the horizon formed by your eye's vanishing point. Your eye has an angular resolution of 0.2 degrees, and anything at that height will disappear beyond the limit of your sight. Many times we can see time-lapse footage of the sun that shows it getting smaller as it moves away from us. Now, that's not always the case, since the sun is travelling around the North Pole. The closer you are to the north, the less you'll see the size change. But from locations beyond the equator, you'll absolutely see the sun's size change. And that could never ever happen if the sun was 93 million miles away.